Man, I sure have been missing the QuickTime podcast.
The following program is rated MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
Green flag waving for the always exciting Sheldon Hutchfield. He'll bounce the right rear off the wall in turn 4. Lap 1 for Sheldon Hutchfield. Quick time!
Off turn 4. Quick time 10, 0, 3, 0. Second lap time for David is quick time 15, 0, 2, 2.
Lap number 1 for Kyle Larson. Quick time! It's a 10-1-45.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of QuickTime, the podcast. Hope everybody had a great week. Thanks for tuning in this week. Let's check in with the boys and see how their weeks were. Let's start off with Josh, man. Josh, how was your week?
Pretty fun, eventful week. My mom fell a car, broke her hip, so I've been dealing with that this weekend, along with watching some racing. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it was a good weekend.
Brad, what about you?
My weekend was good, but it was culminated by a great sprint car race last night at I-80 Speedway, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But boy, the weather was awesome. The track was good. Good night of sitting out there on a Wednesday night, getting us over hump day.
Yeah, definitely. So me and myself spent the weekend out at Fairbury in Jefferson County for the USAC Midgets. What a great event Cody Brewer put on out there. We're going to recap that here later on. And like you, I also went out to I-80 last night. So at least 2 of the 3 guys went out there to race this
week.
Josh is a couch racer.
Hey, I was watching Port Royal last night, so
you saw Kyle Larson just dominate. And that was
night was
so
over.
You didn't see a really good race like we saw.
Kind of. But my night was over by 9:30.
Yeah, we'll get into that here a little bit too. I mean,
Not so much.
Not so much 9:30. So let's kick things off. A little new segment here called the QuickTime Fast Pass. Brad, we'll start with you. What was something this week that caught your eye that you want to give a shout out to?
Well, there's a couple of different things, but after last night, I'm going to go with the Koziski family taking care of I-80 Speedway. Man, that racetrack last night was perfect for a sprint car race. It was almost too good, like you said before we started taping here. There was a cushion up against the wall. It was slick in the middle. It was an amazing race last night, and there was racing going on throughout the field and 29 great cars. I don't have anything bad to say about it, other than it took a lot longer than it probably needed to, and we'll get into that. But it was a great night of racing there, and so Koziski's, they rarely miss that track, and so it's going to be sad to see it go away. But they nailed it last night, that's for sure. You
mentioned the track prep a little bit, and I think it was right before the late model features. They went out and knocked down the cushion. And I'm like, what are you doing? There's a big old berm going up there. I was like, this is going to be great for the sprint cars. They go out there and knock it down. And obviously I'm not a track prep guy because they put on for one hell of a sprint car feature.
Absolutely. It was the top 4 were almost under a blanket. They were nose to tail, nose to tail, sliding each other. The number of passes the first 10 laps for the lead. I don't know what officially it was.
Hey,
but,
don't ruin it all. We need people to listen, throughout the episode. So why don't we? Why don't we cap that when we talk about the recap here in a little bit?
Have some of this in the recap, Brad.
Props to the Koziskis. Then is all I got to say after that.
All right. Well, let's throw it over to Josh. Anything that caught your eye over the week?
Mine goes back to the midgets with Buddy Kofoy. Everyone says how dirty midgets are getting. Well, he was the most patient guy. Let the other 2 guys knock each other out, so it kind of worked to your advantage, letting them be dirty all they want and then take home the win. But I think the best part about it is he says in interviews, every time you hear him talk about Fairbury, it's his favorite track. And it's really cool to see him get a win there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So myself, I want to shout out Tyler Drucke. I believe he picked up his first career 410 feature on Tuesday night at Rapid Speedway in Rock Rapids, Iowa. He held off some heavy hitters there with McCarl charging, Justin Henderson, Ryan Timms was out there. I mean, you got to give him a shout out for taking that 410 motor of his, and he's definitely progressed up the sprint car ranks from running the 305 at Eagle, run 360s up here locally, and now he's won 410 races.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his feet are still pretty green come the 410s, but to go out there to a track, and I have no idea how many times he's run that track, but to go out there and and take the checkers in front of those people that were there, McCarl and so forth. He even though he started on the front, he had to stay up there. So props to him for winning that first career 410 win.
Definitely. So that is our QuickTime Fast Pass quick recap. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're still trying to figure out what we're going to call that deal.
If you guys have any suggestions for a name for that kind of a thing, I know like Door Bumper Clear has fast more than fast moment. Give us a shout out and name something and give us a name for this little segment.
Yeah, Loud Pedal has the hat shakes, and every podcast has something that they
Something to kind of thank or
just
show
to
a
shout out
spotlight
something
on
that
somebody.
that was not a main story of the week or anything like that. But big races here in the Cornhusker State this past week. Let's kick things off with the Fairbury Midgets up there over the weekend at the Jefferson County Speedway. Great event Cody Brewer put on. Hats off to him, throwing down 10K for the feature winner on Saturday night. And Friday night, we saw Mitchell Moles pick up the victory Friday night. As Josh mentioned, Buddy Kofoid picked up the big 10K on Saturday.
So with the race the first night, Friday night, I texted you, Brandon. I was watching the race, and not that I'm a Trey Gropp homer, but Mitchell Moles kind of shoved him off the track.
Oh, that was fucking dirty.
And I'm like, come on. I'm like, so Moles went on to either win or second, and Trey has to come, from behind. But I was happy to see him. I'm always a big Mitchell Moles fan, especially from Chili Bowl and stuff like that. I've always liked watching him, but I was pretty mad at that situation.
Yeah, when it happened, it's one of those deals. At Fairbury, if you guys haven't been out there, there's no wall around the backstretch and coming out of the corner, so it's kind of like Lernerville's kind of the same way. Is that right, Brad?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that deal, and they just coming off the corner, and Mitchell Moles just kind of bullied his way in there and pushed Trey off the backside of the track. I go up to Trey afterwards. I'm like, hey, did you go kick his ass after that deal? And Trey's like, no, I'm just gonna get him back at the feature, and well, Mitchell was gone. Trey never had a chance.
And that's something that Trey could have lifted, but they're both going for the same spot, and you can't hurt him for that. But at the same time, it as a fan, you're like, you could let off a little, and you guys fight the next turn, not let's all go bonsai in the second turn.
Yeah, I was a little. The event was great. The gripe here a lot in this area is there's not a lot of midgets. We kind of touched on that last week, and Power Eye schedules a show 3 hours up the road in Kansas City. I hate when series do that.
You spread your series thin then.
It's stupid. I mean, we got 23 cars on Friday and Saturday here, and I think they had like 18 up there at Grain Valley. I mean,
and what they race for? How much?
Like $2,000, $2,500 to win.
If I'm not mistaken, they did that a couple years ago as well.
It always seems to be the deal here.
Keith Kuhn's lesser known or lesser talented drivers went down there, and his better talent stayed here in Nebraska. So it's really unfortunate that you can't work together and put together a good race for both facilities at maybe different dates.
And I can see if you're in different regions, not like you said, 3 hours, 4 hours away. You can't. I mean, it's almost unfair as a fan and as a promoter because you put on this big money only to have people not be at the race.
How was the fan support? We talked a little bit last week about driver team
Friday.
support.
Friday was a little thin, but Saturday when the money was on the line, the crowd was good. I mean, it wasn't quite like it was like the first year when Cody did this, where it was standing room only.
Yeah.
Everybody was packed in there like sardines, but it was a good crowd.
Well, good. I was there that first year, and you were elbow to elbow. You couldn't even move.
Yeah, 2 years ago when I went, it was jam packed. Like that's why I think we went in the pits is because there was nowhere to sit, and I'd rather go sit on top of a trailer and watch than sit in the nosebleeds or sit in the corners where I'm getting pegged with dirt all day long.
Is it too early to know? Have they announced next year's dates if they're going to even come back next year?
I have not heard anything, but for as much work as Cody does to put on this event, I definitely see it coming back.
Yeah. Well, I was preoccupied with some family things I had to deal with back home, so I wasn't able to go. But man, I really wanted to. I love midget racing. I love non-wing racing, and you don't get that opportunity here in Nebraska very often. And so that was I said 2 hours last week, but it turned out it was like an hour and 10 minutes away from Lincoln.
Yeah, you got called out on that one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting too old to stay up really late, so maybe next year I'll get to
what'd you do last night, Brad?
Except for last night.
Again, I've struggled through the day today. So yeah.
you mentioned that you had some family stuff. I was getting a text. Well, we were all texting back and forth throughout the whole deal, and Saturday night the weather was getting a little bit gloomy. And you were an hour down the road in Grand Island, and you're sitting there saying, "I think I'm in the middle of a tornado."
Yeah. We the sirens went off, and we went in the basement, and we got nothing but rain and a lot of wind. But man, we were in a tornado warning, and it's kind of scary. But I'm just glad that we got nothing but rain and wind. But yeah, I texted you guys to see if anything was going on here in Lincoln. There was nothing going on here in Lincoln, but it was pretty wild in Grand Island.
Down at the track, you could definitely. I mean, everybody was checking their phones and the radar and whatnot, and you can definitely tell the winds direction shifted. It's got a lot cooler, which I mean, it felt great because it was
great for you guys.
We were out there sweating our asses off in 95-degree weather.
Oh yeah.
But on the way home, I mean, I didn't get a whole lot of rain, but there was a lot of lightning, so we didn't get. I don't think we were in a tornado warning.
They weren't rushing the show or anything like that.
I mean, they nixed the driver introductions, which I'm okay with. I mean,
a lot of that's just for show. I mean,
that's all for show. But the racing was good. We titled the podcast "Slide or Die Week" in Nebraska last week, and that's what it was at the final lap. I mean, it comes down to a green-white checkered restart, and Ryan Timms is leading the damn thing. I believe it was Ryan. It was Ryan or Cannon.
Ryan was leading coming into that caution,
and
Cannon got him, and then Timms went back at him the next turn.
So yeah, and Buddy's sitting there in third place, and there was a slide or die move going into one on that last lap, and guess what happened? He died.
Even Buddy said that he was pushing up because he thought they were both going to be there to kind of block, and he's like, no one was there. It was kind of weird. And if you actually look at the end, he barely won. I can't remember what his name is. He came from the bottom. Like I didn't realize how close he was.
Oh, Jerry Coons Jr.
Until they showed the replay.
What a run by Jerry Coons. Yeah. That was his highest finishing feature in a long time with the USAC Midgets, and his kid won the non-wing race out there, and that was a great sight to see.
Family moment right there. Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely got to give Jerry Coons a shout out there as well.
Yeah, for him to still be competitive, he doesn't finish up there as often as he would like, I'm sure. But with the young kids with these dirty sliders, I think I would assume he's a little content to just finish the race. And for him to finish second last week was awesome to see that for the old man.
He said in his interview that he was running the bottom. He's like, I'll just let these kids take each other out on the top, and I'll just keep running the bottom.
Wise man once said.
And they did. He got second place.
So another thing, man, T-Mez was out there filming some T-Mez TV out there. So I got a couple of photos of him filming that thing. So you might want to watch out. Maybe I'll make a little cameo on that show.
He's one of those guys that does a lot of bitching about the kids and their dirty sliders. But if you watch, T-Mez does dirty sliders.
They all do.
They all do. And so to be critical like that when you're doing the same exact thing, maybe not as often, but you're doing the same exact thing. So it is what it is. If you don't want to do the dirty sliders, probably don't race the midgets. But it's the norm right now, and you gotta live with it. And he's won his share of midget races this year and a half, and so it's working for him. But I just wish he wouldn't be so critical of with him doing the exact same thing.
Well, he even said in his post interview that heat race win that he had Friday night,
slide or die.
That I don't know who that number 25 is, but he's got a welcome to USAC midgets with my slider or whatever. I'm like, you just complain about people doing that to you, and then you go out and do it, and it's okay.
Well, during Midget Week, he was bitching about Kofoid taking him out or doing a dirty slider when Kofoid won. And then the next night, him and Kofoid were doing some heavy sliders, and it was clean. But he made the mention that it was a good, fun night of doing sliders with Buddy, and this time they were all clean. So it was. So
the
fun.
thing I like about T-Mez, and I think he's found a way to market himself as that guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he does a hell of a job doing. Yeah, okay, maybe he throws the dirty slider there too, but everybody's watching him for that sound clip.
Yeah,
yeah. They want to see him win to hear what he says. Yeah.
And Josh, you mentioned that 25. What a surprise we had out there is Ben Rhodes, the reigning NASCAR truck champion, made his midget debut.
Yep. Yeah.
I couldn't pick out one truck driver if you wanted.
I had no clue he was there, and I'm sitting there doing photos during engine heat, and I knew it was not Taylor Reimer in that 25 car.
Right.
But the Keith Coons guy leans in. He's like, all right, this is how you start it. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Somebody's never driven a freaking race car or a midget before, let alone start one, is out here doing this. And I go look at the entry list, and I'm like, all right, look, who's in 25? And I'm like, Ben Rhodes. How the fuck do I know that name? I'm like, he's got to be a NASCAR guy. That's the only way I would know a name like that. So I had to Google him.
You had to Google it.
I did. I mean, I knew the name, but I didn't know how I know the name. And, it's pretty cool that a NASCAR champion actually came out here and raced the little bull ring at Fairbury.
Something else that we kind of hit on, we were texting back and forth. And, me and Brandon hear about it all the time at the shop with how much it costs for these guys to get in these midgets. And, like to race in a Keith Coon or like in a higher up team, it's 4,200. I think I sent you, or 4,500, and they're racing for 10 grand. I mean, it's 4,200 per night. I mean,
what does that get you? You crash, do you buy the parts, or is that all part of the 4,500?
From what I heard, it depends on what you have and what your situation is, or that you sign up for.
I mean, if you go and completely junk a race car, I don't think you're going to be allowed to walk away with, here's my $4,200 check.
The lower teams make you pay for whatever you break, but they're usually not as expensive to go race. But I think the lower teams can be anywhere from,
I mean, it's like $2,500 to go run a chili bowl ride.
Yeah.
I mean, for a Johnny Murdoch car. I mean, really, do you want to spend $2,500 and go race Johnny Murdoch?
What's the purpose of paying unless you're going to move up to another level? What's the purpose of spending that money? Like me and you always joke that you just go buy your own midget by the end of the season. What's the point?
I mean, I don't know. For some of that stuff, you get the crew chief, you get the crew experience.
Yeah. Right.
Like the Keith Coons knowledge is well worth that price.
Right.
But is that
all of his stuff.
Is that the same price for, Joe Blow Racing? That's
just look at Tad Holloman. He's got that midget that sits in his garage all year long. That's an expensive paperweight. So would he be better off renting a midget for $3,000 for the chili bowl, and then he wouldn't have all that investment in the car and the motor and everything? I mean, for a one-off race, something like that. But if you're going to do a season, USAC race, and say you're racing 15 nights at $3,000, that's. Well, and it's the kids doing it, so the kids are there to gain knowledge and experience, and so it's an expensive learning tool, but it obviously is something that they and the families think that they have to do so they can learn how to be a good competitive midget driver.
I mean, I can see it from like Cannon McIntosh, him going with Keith Coons for a year or two and coming back to his dad's, and then you bring all that knowledge you just learned to that stable and understand what they're doing to be faster. I mean, that makes sense.
Keith gets criticized for charging and all that stuff, but he's found a way to make it work and make money doing it. And the Chad
Keith Coons, the only guy to make money racing.
And Chad Bodette does too. He's the same way. They both provide cars for people for money, and they found a way to make it work. So whatever it takes, I guess.
But I think that's where Team is when he gets on his high horse saying, these kids, they just have money to pay for to do this, so they don't care. Well, yeah, I can't afford, most race car drivers can't afford to go race these midgets. So, yeah, of course, the people that can afford to do it, they're going to do what they want to do and race how they want to race. I mean, that's why I always get frustrated when I hear that Team is complaining about, I just got slid by this kid. Well, he paid the money to be there. So did you. I mean, not that he does, but, yeah.
I'm good with that one.
I was just going to let Josh bury his own grave right there, talking trash about Team Miz.
It is what it is.
All right, Brad, let's take a quick break, and what are we going to do afterwards?
We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll rehash the 360 sprint car race at I-80 Speedway last night. That was an amazing finish.
Right on it. I was like, what?
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Did you think that number 11 that ended up finishing second in that late model race was like, it had to be the oldest late model there last night, or at least it was the only.
All right, I want to be honest with you. I didn't fucking watch the late model feature because I was pissed off. This is ridiculous.
This little number 11, he came from back and he ended up taking the lead, and then the last couple laps he faded a little bit. It looked like an old piece of shit car, but he was fast. It didn't look like these guys right here.
Well, these are the bad boy late
these
models
are
right
the
here.
bad boys.
But anyways, no, I watched a little bit of the late model. I didn't pay attention to it. I'm sitting there on the Jersey barrier, just sitting there watching, and Todd Boyd, one of the late model photographers, comes up. He's like, "What are you doing? Not taking pictures?" He knows I'm a sprint car guy. I'm like, I look down and go, "What do I need this for?" So anyways, guys, welcome back to the show. Yeah, Brad, that's going in there. I mean, it was just general racing talk, but welcome back. Last night, big race up there as I-80 Speedway kicked off the 12th, is it 12th?
12th year?
Yeah, 12th year, the 12th and final.
Final year, too.
I think they said the 12th year is in the last year.
Yeah, I believe it's the 12th year, but they're tagging as the final Silver Dollar Nationals at I-80 Speedway. We kicked things off last night with the Malvern Bank 360 sprint cars. I debated all night if I'm going to go out there. I knew it was going to be hot. And let's face it, there has not been a lot of car support with these races in the past. But paying $5,300 to win, I was thinking we're going to have a decent car count. I check my race pass before I leave, and there's 7 cars signed in. And I'm like, 7 fucking cars. So I'm like, all right, I want to give it till I get to 84th Street before I need to turn it, head south or go out to the racetrack. So I check it again when I hit 84th, and there's 20 cars. I'm like, all right, we're going to the racetrack.
Wow. Yeah, because you said when you left work, you're like, I asked you if you were going, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, you texted me, and I left at like 6 or 6:15 from my house, and you texted, and there's 20 cars. I'm like, so a week and a half ago, they paid $1,300 to win, and there were 18 cars. Last night, they paid $5,300 to win, and there was only 20 cars. I was a little frustrated with that, but by the time I pulled into the parking lot,
when it was all said and done, we had 29
cars,
high quality 360 cars out there in the pit area signed in.
It was a good field, and I was pretty happy with 29 considering there's very few 360s in Nebraska. And so, and being a Wednesday, I didn't expect a whole lot of out-of-town support. Well, we got a lot of good out-of-town support. So
one of the big names, Ryan Timms, showed up. I mean, anytime you can see that kid race right now as he's coming up, that kid is a wheelman.
What an amazing talent. And I hope we get to see him stick around for a while. But a 15-year-old with that much talent usually doesn't stick around the dirt that long. So we'll enjoy the show while we can.
So before we get into the 360 race too much, there was 2 classes of late models, the bragging right late models, which is like a crate division late models, and then the Malvern Bank Super late model, which is a regional traveling series, mostly races here in Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, that area. But tonight is the big boys, the Lucas Oil late models. And we got that here on the big screen down here in the what do you call this? The race cave?
Race cave.
Race cave.
So we're watching that as we're recording this show. But let's dive in because we're a sprint car show. We're going to talk sprint cars here. And Austin McCarl, man, won a thriller out there.
It was a great night of racing. Even the heat races were pretty good. They weren't great, but they were pretty good. I was really getting disappointed and frustrated. I told you guys in the previous show or two that I'm starting to become a late model fan out there at I-80 Speedway. Well, last night put the kiboshes on that because, man, the spin cycles in full effect. I thought we were watching modifieds last night, but they were spinning out. They were making contact, and for some reason, cleanup methods were
Every
slow.
car had to be towed off. I mean, I don't get it. Put a push truck behind those damn
off?
things. Yeah, they towed every fucking car off.
But
I'm not a safety crew worker.
Right,
Let me tell you that right now. I don't know. Maybe rear ends were jacked up, but every car, come on, boys.
Yeah,
figure this shit out.
I know the Kaziskis try their goal is to be done by 10:30, 11. But last night I got out of there about midnight, and that made for a short night. But the sprint cars made up for it, man. The A feature. The first 10 or so laps, there were 4 or 5 cars dicing it and up in the lead. They were up against the cushion. They were sliding each other. They kind of tamed down towards the middle part of the race, and then with 3 to go, Ryan Timms made his way up to the 3rd place, and he tapped the wall coming out of 4 and bounced off of it a couple times, and then the yellow flag came out for a premature yellow, and it should have never gone out, but that did save Ryan Timms because he would have never got up to second or first or second at that point. complete restart at that point. He took the lead going into one on Austin McCarl.
And she was gone.
And she was gone until going into one on the white flag lap. Tim's got a little smoke out of the rear end or out of the car. Coming out of 2, a little bit more smoke. Into 3, a lot of smoke.
Kaboom.
And then boom.
4, it looked bad.
And he just coasted across the line. And
even though, I mean, McCarl did not beat him by much. It was a car length at the flag.
That's it?
It was a car length. Wow. It was super close. And with, you would think with Ryan Timms having that big of a lead that he dominated the race, he got that lead with like 2 to go, and so he stretched that out in the matter of a lap and a half. And so props to him. He was a rocket ship, and he started like 6th, I think, or something like that. So he earned it. But Austin McCarl come back for a $5,300 paycheck.
Dover started on the pole on that one, is that right?
Dover and Ledger. Ledger started on the pole, Dover on the outside.
I knew Dover was on the front row. Ledger was up there too.
And Dover led most of the first 6, 8, 10 laps, but then faded. But they were getting.
I mean, Ryan Roberts stuck his nose in there for a pass for the lead.
How did the local guys do? Like our local guy, like the Nebraska.
Ledger hung tough for a few laps. Dover led the first 8 laps or so. And then he just, I say he faded, but he was top 3 or 4 for almost all the race.
It wasn't like he wasn't there.
He wasn't. He just wasn't in the lead, and so we fared pretty well. But our top finisher was Jack Dover in 6th. But Caleb Johnson, he was right there. He was fast.
Ayrton
Jennington snuck in there for a 3rd place finish, and that was, I mean, I didn't even pay attention to Ayrton until the very end. I'm like, well, where in the hell did he come from? So props to the Kaziskis for track prep. That A feature was, I just love.
I mean, it made the A feature made the late night well worth it. I mean, I want to bitch and complain that I didn't get home till 1:15, didn't get to bed till 2 o'clock, up at 6, 7 o'clock to go to work. I mean, it made for a short night.
Short night of sleep. Yeah.
Jennington started 13th and finished 3rd.
How'd Stu do?
Tim started 8th and finished 2nd.
We don't talk about Stu.
Stu was not. He finished 15th. He was just never a factor.
When I saw Grossenbacher was out there, did he?
He was never a factor either. I think they got to get used to the fast pace of a 360 as opposed to those 305s. They're just not used to it.
The night started off eventful as Stroud blew a motor and hot laps, and they were thrashing to get a new one put in before his heat, and he was in the first heat and goes out and kicked their ass and dominated that heat.
So where was he in the feature then? Why? How come I'm not hearing his name then?
Him and Jason Martin were running.
Did you watch the race?
No.
Why not?
Because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
You should watch. So
as a fan, I want to know.
You should follow IB Racing on Twitter. He was giving second.
He was giving updates.
I saw someone. Is anybody live tweeting the IB race? And there's IB Racing.
It gave me the urge to do it. So Jason Martin and Stroud were running 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th, and whatever happened, they got together in the front stretch and crashed. And Stroud lost a front wheel. Martin lost a rear wheel. They both changed and went to the back and came back through, and so they took them out of contention. I'm trying to skim through here. Stroud finished 20th, so he dropped out shortly after the restart. Martin come back and finished 7th. So.
I about got ran over by Martin on the 4-wheeler. Me walking around the pits, not really paying attention. I step off to the side, and here comes Martin flying by. He's hard on the brakes. I'm like, hey. It's my first time in the pits, buddy. We better watch out.
Did you have your vest on?
So I am one of those guys. Everybody wears their yellow safety vests, and they were all wearing them at the USAC race. They were all wearing them last night at I-80. Well, at least I want to put this in quotations. The official photographers there. At I-80, anybody that can buy a pit pass can go in there and shoot. Yeah. You're in the infield.
You don't have to be a special.
No, you pit in the infield. They're not going to kick anybody out with a camera.
Interesting.
So, but all the official guys, like Chris Brown, the track photographer out there, Todd Boyd out there, there was another guy out there too, and myself. I'm the only one that doesn't wear a damn vest. Joe doesn't wear one most of the time, and I think that's where I got it from. I just don't wear the.
Just learn from Joe.
I just don't wear the vest.
That's why it's hard to find you at these races. You don't.
Let's be honest. What's the yellow safety vest actually going to really do? It's going to be like some sort of force field around me not to get hit. No, not really.
Maybe not.
I mean, now if I am asked to put a vest on, I will do it. I will play by the rules, but
Yeah,
I'm not doing it willingly.
It doesn't do a whole lot with like at Eagle where there's no cars pitting in the infield or anything like that. So yeah.
So no, but yeah, no, I almost got ran over by Jason Martin. A little eventful night.
So did Drought. I mean, that's not right. That's not right.
And I asked you earlier, tonight if you thought any of the ASCS guys were going to be out there because they raced in Missouri on this past weekend and they're in Tulsa tonight.
Yeah.
But Jason Martin, the local guy, was the only one here, and I don't even think he ran his ASCS car. I think that was just a backup car.
Just a backup car. Probably the one that he crashed early and had to kind of splice it together. Isn't the Chase Randall? Isn't he?
He's a Knoxville guy.
Knoxville guy.
Yeah.
Fastest chicken in the.
Dude, I want to try some of that bush of chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, his dad sent me a friend request on Facebook today, and when I
Same
accepted,
here.
so when I accepted, I kind of looked at his little photos, and they're all drinking some milkshakes from bush chicken and eating some chicken. I'm like, that shit looks good. Let me tell you.
Yep. So anyway, props to them. And Austin McCarl had a lot of good things to say about I-80. He said that he tells everybody that I-80 is his favorite racetrack.
That's his first win at I-80.
Yeah, is it? And Terry McCarl says the same thing, that that I-80 is one of his most favorite racetracks to race at, and they're going to hate to see it go. And there's a lot of people that are sad to see I-80 go, but I don't blame the Kaziskis. They've been doing this a long time.
It's a lot of hard
it eats
work.
up your whole summer.
Yeah.
So your only vacation is in the wintertime. So
When you're chasing down sponsors, you're chasing down all sorts of things
Yeah.
just to get a race going.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
a lot of work.
They dedicate their life to it, so they deserve to sell it and ride off into the sunset.
like Sunset Speedway.
Wow, you had to go there?
Hey, I have been there. Have you ever been to Sunset?
No, I have not been to Sunset.
Watch the World of Outlaws race.
Did
there.
you?
No.
I've only watched late models.
You ever
there.
been to Mid-Continent?
No, where's that at?
Yeah.
Where was that at?
You ever been
Is that in
to...
Donovan?
Yeah, that's Donovan.
Okay, I have been in Donovan.
Grew up there.
Have you ever been in Lincoln County?
No. Where's that? In Lincoln County?
Yeah, it's in Lincoln County. So is that
But
Lexington?
town is around
Is
there.
that
Lexington?
Lexington,
Dawson
North Platte?
County Speedway?
Dawson County is Lexington.
Yeah.
Okay,
Lincoln
no,
County
I've
is
never
North
went that
Platte.
far that way.
North Platte?
Yeah,
I've
North
never
Platte.
been to the North Platte track.
Been there. I don't know. I saw somebody, completely off topic. That's kind of the gist of the show. We were going to have Buddy Kofoid on, but at the last minute, the superstar that he has had some more important engagements than some ragtag podcast here. But we are going to reschedule with him. We had him on before. When I talked to him after the Fairbury race, he was all excited. No, I shouldn't say excited, but he kind of knew the deal and was going to come on.
He always seems to be pretty personable about being on these things to help support racing, make things.
Yeah, definitely. But anyways, I saw somebody post on Facebook that they never sat down and made a list of all the tracks they've been to. And that's one thing I haven't done. And I kind of want to do that at some point.
Could you imagine if like Buddy Kofoid or some of these other drivers put down a list of every track they've raced
Yeah,
at?
9,000 of them.
That'd be insane.
Yeah, a lot of tracks that I've been to don't even exist anymore. So
That's you're getting old there, Brad.
I think
Yes,
Brad
yes,
probably
sir.
beats us both in tracks.
I don't know. I might be up there. I might be close with Brad.
Like different tracks.
Yeah, different tracks. Because I go out and photograph all these races out there.
But he
Brad
like
kind of
goes to
stopped
these
doing
bucket
that for a while.
list type tracks. Like he's like, oh yeah, I just went out to Indiana and went to this race and went out to Oregon, went to this race.
Yeah, so we're road tripping Eldora next year.
No, we're not.
No?
I wouldn't mind going to
I got a
Houston
camper now.
next
We
year.
could use it.
Yeah.
No.
Did you
So,
did you pick that up?
Monday we bought it. Yep. Bought it, took it out to the lake, hooked it up, got the air conditioner going, and just went through it. And
All
kinda
right.
seen
Your
what we
wife,
had.
your wife's going with you to Knoxville, right?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So you
Like-
said the first thing you did was hook up the air conditioning?
Yeah,
God damn, it's hot outside, boy.
We went out to Branch Oak and just plugged it in and moved the slides out because you got to have a 50 amp service, and we don't have that. So I mean, we could probably get by with just a regular 110, but we just moved out and then we just started going through all the compartments and see what they left us. The people that we bought it, and they left us some pots and pans and stuff. We were just looking at it and see
Left
what
us a
we
pot.
need to do.
I was sitting there like, wait, where's this going?
Then we put it all back and took it to the storage, and now I'm going to get it out on Saturday and maybe Sunday, because Saturday's going to be hotter than a pistol here. So Sunday, and give it a good wash job and go over it and do some mechanical stuff and just kind of clean it all up.
Yeah, I was going to invite myself to stay with them in Knoxville. I got my Knoxville credentials approved. I mean,
Did you?
Did you really?
yeah, so I mean, if you guys wanted to go out there and do a podcast, you could have credentials for it, but no.
I'm
fucking amateurs
solid
over
no.
here.
I'm having a party at my house, so I'm good.
The wife would not be entertained by watching two knuckleheads talk on a mic for even a half hour or whatever it would be. So.
Make sure you do it live so I can watch you
Negative
guys.
Ghost Rider.
Did they have a Chinese restaurant up there in Knoxville? Because I know when we did the podcast at your house, you always went off and got her Chinese food. And I mean,
Well, right there at the track, the Hawaiian Grill is awesome.
I got a couple bucks for some shrimp fried rice or whatever she likes.
Nope. Negative.
All right, so when we mentioned Eldora, let's talk about the big week up there. Brent Marks walking away with $275,000 of Tony Stewart's hard-earned cash.
Yeah, you guys remember who I picked last week on our show, right?
Yes, we remember.
Was it Brian Brown?
Yeah.
Rico?
My picks
Rico?
were,
Wait, that was my pick.
David Gravel or Macedo, and Macedo was never really a factor, and then my dark horse was Brent Marks, so you're welcome.
Yeah, we got texted that night all about it. Each night, I should say.
I think that, in my opinion, and this is for another show, but Brent Marks and David Gravel are the clear-cut favorites for the Knoxville Nationals. Add Larson as well, but those two are going to be the two that are going to decide the race, in my opinion, today anyway.
But do you think it's Marks because of just the momentum he's on right now?
He's been great all year. He's been fast everywhere.
He's been fast everywhere all year. I don't know.
Knoxville,
I don't know what it is, but
June.
he didn't do. It's gonna sound bad. He didn't do dick when he was on the Outlaw Tour.
Well,
he goes back and runs his own team, and he's just kicking everybody's ass.
I made that
right
comment
now.
the other day that him getting beat up for 2 or 3 years on the Outlaw Tour is paying dividends, and it's going to be the same thing for Zerfoss. If he can stick it out a couple years, it's going to pay dividends for him too, because they teach you how to be a super aggressive sprint car driver.
Midgets do that too.
It might take the pressure off you by not being on the Outlaw Tour, more, trying to race at these races.
I mean, you can look at that whole deal kind of like what Jack Dober once said when he went up and ran Knoxville for a year in the 410s and came back and run 360s. It just made you that much faster.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're running with these Outlaws, they are the fastest guys out there right now.
Well,
Yeah.
And you go back home and run your local stuff.
Well, that's why Brian Brown travels. You're only as fast as your competition, and he's super fast at Knoxville. But to get Outlaw fast, you got to go against the Outlaws, and so he travels when he can to Outlaw races and other tracks, so he can just be that much better. And it's made him really fast at a lot of different tracks. I mean, he gets criticized for not being fast, except for at Knoxville. But if those critics would actually look at his resume, he's got wins in Charlotte, he's got wins in Pennsylvania, he's got wins in Texas, he's got wins a lot of different places. And he's getting those wins because he's competing against the best. So, as far as the Kings Royal and the historical big one, classic Eldora Speedway, there was great racing up against the wall. But Brett Marks, he kind of walked the dog on that.
A little early caution in the beginning of the feature for clear out the fireworks smoke. I mean, they went a little too big on the pyro there.
Speaking of the fireworks, going back to Fairbury.
Oh, that was at Meeker.
That was at Meeker.
No, not Meeker. Sorry, that was at Beloit.
Beloit.
Kaylee Bryson takes a mortar shell off her shoulder.
The parade lap kind of changed. The parade lap, they shot off fireworks, and one of them fell over and it exploded right in the middle of the cars, and then Bryson, a mortar went and bounced off of her car, and
it hit the front tire or something like that and bounced back in the infield.
Yeah.
And I saw a video from the infield, and that thing came back right at the guy with the cell phone and right there in front of him. Like, holy shit, boys!
One of those things you never see.
So,
but that was
so I
hilarious.
go up on that was on Tuesday night down in Beloit, and was it Tuesday or Wednesday? Tuesday night. No, Wednesday night.
Tuesday because
No, Tuesday was Meeker. Wednesday was Beloit. So, but on Friday, I go up to Cody Brewer. I'm like, hey, are we having fireworks? Do I need to watch out for anywhere? Because I do not want to get blown up by a firework, boys.
But that was hilarious. Anyway, getting back to Eldora, I don't know if we have anything else to say about Eldora.
I don't know, Josh. You said Brett Marks only won because of the format. Is that right?
That's what I keep hearing, that people are blaming it on that because it's not the outlaw
Hey.
format of racing, which,
You race the format that you're given, and
well, Brad made the best statement about Knoxville, about how nationals, they all complain about it, but the best guys still end up being there.
The cream rises to the top no matter what the format. And every year people bitch about Knoxville and the format for the Knoxville Nationals, and every year the fastest guy wins. So just the keyboard commandos and the couch racers, that just gives them something to talk about. But the best driver always wins on that night, and there was nobody going to beat Brett Marks. So he got a $175,000 paycheck and took it back to Pennsylvania with him.
Pretty much.
Fair enough. Let's take another break, and we'll come back, wrap the show up here with some hot topics. Join Stars photographer BA and Off Ice official Gene Cotter for Thunderstruck, the unofficial Lincoln Stars podcast, where we talk with your favorite Lincoln Stars players, coaches, and alumni.
Oh, it was a great night. Yeah, beat them in their own rink just before the buzzer. It was something special for sure.
I don't want to call it a surprise because I knew that there was a great, rich history for hockey here in Lincoln, but I was really happy to see the fans come back in droves and be such a great supporter for us.
I might have to throw my roommate on the bus.
Uh-oh.
I think Sato doesn't have the best tape jobs. He actually just spray painted all his sticks white on the bottom of them. I think he's copying some NHLer he's looking up to, but I don't know. I think it's dusty. I think a lot of guys think it's sick, though.
To let him in penalty minutes back before they handed out those little 10-minute wussy misconducts on everything with 265. Thunderstruck the podcast all season long right here on the Anchor app or wherever you find your favorite podcast.
You've been Thunderstruck!
Hey guys, Dan Taylor with Tailored Computers and Repair, and we all know Christmas is just around the corner, so I've got a couple of ideas for you. If it's a youngster that's looking to stream, maybe do a little bit of gaming, maybe a young adult that's headed to college for the first time, or an older adult that's headed back for continuing education, I have two identical HP ProBook 640 G2 laptops. These are 14-inch screens, so they're not too big, they're going to fit perfect in a backpack, and they're really, really light. They've both been upgraded to the maximum amount of RAM, which is 16 gigs, and they both come with iCore 3 processors that max out at 2.3 gigahertz. These are awesome laptops. I'm really impressed with the way that they are running after the upgrades that I've done to them, and they're available right now for just $450 each. Give me a call or shoot me a text message, 402-659-5641. You can also email me at tailorcomputersandrepair.com.
This is the Dump and Chase podcast.
We're trying to model ourselves after what you guys have done a little bit.
Voice of the Phantoms and friend of the show, Mr. Matt Lipsack.
I am along for the ride and perhaps provide some modicum of adult supervision here, although really that's a lost cause at this point.
We welcome back Phantoms president Andrew Goldman. It went smoother than it did with Matt.
I want that added. I want that added.
What are you shaking your head now for?
I'm agreeing with you because he has absolutely killed us this year.
Well, so far, finger guns has meant Sam shut up. So
yeah, that's not helping. I'm trying to process. Okay.
Check out the Dump and Chase podcast every Wednesday on Western Reserve Radio, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Listen, that was frightening.
Rewind adrenaline rush in the Lucas Oil American Sprinter Series invades Boone County Raceway in Albion, Nebraska. Friday, July 1st. It's the Norfolk Transmission and Muffler Boone County Challenge. See ASCS stars like Blake Hahn, Wayne Johnson, Matt Covington, and Dylan Westbrook take on Nebraska's top talent, along with IMCA late models, Bob Wise, and NCSA. Friday, July 1st. Go great with hot laps at 7. Racing at 8 p.m. Tickets on sale at BooneCountyRaceway.com. It's the Lucas Oil American Sprinter Series National Tour at Boone County Raceway on Friday, July 1st.
The power of editing will make this podcast actually somewhat listenable.
There's your opening part for the podcast. That saying right there.
Yeah. So, anyways, welcome back to the show, guys. Let's wrap things up here a little bit. Some news came out earlier this week with the 360 Nationals. Kind of a shocker here, seeing this Elk Grove, California guy, some Kyle Larson guy, going to enter the 360 Nationals.
Yeah, it's kind of a surprise that he's going to run the 360s, but he's a racer and racers race. And so apparently it's going to fit into his NASCAR schedule, and he just entered it. And so it's just going to bring that many more fans to Knoxville that weren't planning on going to the 360 Nationals.
Yeah, and speaking of that, and not to be outdone, bringing fans in, this 15-year-old kid that we've been toting all show this week, Ryan Timms, found an exceptional status has been placed on Ryan Timms, and he's been allowed to run the Knoxville 360 Nationals as a 15-year-old. He got approved by the Marion County Fair Board, and then the big deal is the insurance company.
Yeah. I mean, he's proven to be a successful, solid race car driver. So it's awesome that they're going to let him do that. I completely understand why he's not going to be cleared for the 410 Nationals. But we just need to enjoy Tim's on the 360 Nationals. This kid is an amazing talent, and it just made the 360 Nationals that much better. So I just hope he has a 360 motor after disintegrating last night.
I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure. That team probably has a few 360 motors lying around. The whole topic of him being allowed to race, the Outlaws, Knoxville, kind of came in when he swept the Jackson Houston weekend in the 410s. And like, you need to make an exception and let this kid race. But a week prior, during Indiana Midget Week, everybody's all up in arms. There needs to be an age limit. We don't need these damn kids out here running these race cars.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways, boys and girls.
Exactly.
No. I mean, the thing is, Tim has he's great talent.
No doubt about it.
And so in a couple of years, when the next 15-year-old comes around that's decent, you got to stay consistent with the rules, because if you start fluctuating and bouncing back and forth, you're going to get a 15-year-old in there that shouldn't probably
just lie on your damn birth certificate like we did back in the day with Jeff Gordon. All right,
like a lot of people did back in the day. So yeah, so it's we're just going to need to enjoy Ryan Timms when we watch him in the 360 Nationals. Watching him, I think we've got to see him 3 times this year at I-80. He won the first time he was there. He led all but the last lap. The second time he was there, and Dover passed him because he got held up by a lap car. And then last night, the motor blew up. Otherwise, he'd be 3 for 3 at I-80 Speedway.
Yeah, and then he almost won down at Fairbury. I mean, it's
But he's definitely proven it.
No doubt about it.
To be there,
He's won 410s at Huset's.
He's won ASCS shows. He's won USAC National Midget shows. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. Yes, he's 15. He can drive the shit out of a race car, but at the same time.
But would you say in the sprint car he is as aggressive as he is in the midgets? I think the midgets is just its own beast of being aggressive.
Well, I don't know that I can say, because
I don't think he drives them anything differently. You just go in there and
I don't know that I've watched him race enough in the midgets to say. I mean, I looked at it, but I didn't really watch it. So
because I know Buddy said on this show when he was on, because I was listening to it today, and he said that you can't race the same with that wing on because it upsets the car when you're doing some of those moves and stuff like that.
That's one thing I thought last night at I-80 Speedway. There were slide jobs, there was passing, there was close racing, and I didn't see one car make contact with another car. And so those midget drivers maybe need to learn, and it was touched on last week or so ago with Kyle Larson said that about Donnie Schatz, that he's the cleanest driver out there and he can still win. So last night I was impressed with how clean racing it was, and it was close racing and it was good racing. So it can be done.
Yeah.
Do you guys have you glanced through the 360 entries and see who you kind of are looking at as possible favorites?
Yeah, Kyle Larson.
Yeah, Kyle Larson. You got to go with Terry McCarl. I mean, he's
T-Max,
he's
really
doing
good
great
there
right
this
there.
year. Aaron Reitzel's no joke this year.
Reitzel's right there. I don't know that Carson's struggling this year. I don't know what they're trying to find something.
I mean, I don't see, in years past, you would see the ASCS guys come in there with Wayne Johnson, Shane Stewart, and whatnot, and they would be favorites. I don't see that this year with this group of ASCS guys.
When you also have Mackery's going to be there. I mean, Kofoy's
talking
to
the
there.
mic, Josh.
Sorry, Mackery's going to be there. Kofoy's going to be there. I mean, you got some pretty
Ian
stout 360s.
going to be there. That 64 car is pretty good.
How about that 64 car? Rolls in an open trailer last week and wins the damn thing in Knoxville.
Yeah. That's impressive. If it's not how you get there, and Brandon Wimmer proves that in Ohio when he drives an open trailer with a little Chevy Astro minivan pulling the car. So, yeah, you got Parker Price, Miller, Kofoid. You got some good. We already mentioned Reitzel, Brown. So
look at the rookie class.
Yeah.
Did you see who's all the rookies for this year for the 360 Nationals?
Kind of seeing, yeah.
I mean, Corey Day.
Oh yeah, we haven't touched on him. He won.
You told me he was going to be at I-80 last night. He was no show, buddy.
Ooh. Rumor was
Rumor. Did you get out that off the IB Racing rumor page?
That
Keyboard Commandos.
We all know what we think about rumors. So that was a rumor, but he just won in Missouri last week, and he was at Knoxville, so you would think he would come over for $5,300. But He must have read that Tim's was there, so he didn't want to go. So,
but Kofoy doesn't. They don't have him down as a rookie. Why isn't he a rookie for the 360 Nationals?
Maybe he's probably raced before.
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't remember him racing there.
Josh just became a race fan this past year.
Yeah,
so
right.
We'll let it slide.
So I guess that's put the finishing touches on that one.
So another thing that I found interesting was with this high limit sprint car series. They talked about it all week long. Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet dropping a bomb on the sprint car world with this thing. But have you heard any comments from Donnie Schatz, Craig Kinzer, any of the other Outlaw guys that aren't named Brad Sweet?
Yeah, I kind of find it funny that it blew up Twitter and Facebook last week once it was announced by Kyle and Brad, and it's ghost town since. You haven't heard anybody talk about it.
We've heard guys that it benefits, like Brian Brown, talking about how that is a good deal, but haven't heard any Outlaw guys say any comments on it. So
about it.
Is there a little non-compete clause in that Outlaw contract that we don't know about?
Yeah, I think that they'll hash all that out by next spring. So
I don't know. I just found it interesting that there was no comments, at least that I could see, that publicly were out there from any of the Outlaw drivers.
Yeah, you mentioned that there wasn't, and nobody tweeted, "Oh, this is awesome to see. Good luck to Kyle and Brad," or whatever. None of the Outlaws said anything about it that I read. So interesting.
Then, Brad, you wanted to bring up some tire drama?
Well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Hoosier tire issue with the sprint cars, how there are so many delamination issues with the Hoosier tires, and it cost Donnie Schatz a good finish last night. I would like to know, and I don't pay attention to late models as much as probably I could or what, but I was wondering, do the late models have this issue? Because it's sprint cars across the board, 360s, the 410s. I don't know about the 305s. They usually run a little bit harder compound, but they're delaminating all the time. And so I don't know what's going on. I don't make tires and I don't pretend to know anything about them, but I was curious, do the late model tires do the same thing? They must have a harder compound because they seem to be able to get more laps out of their tires. Like they ran that 100-lap race at Eldora.
And they're going to run a 100-lap race this weekend.
The guy that won, the tires look like you could have run another 100 laps on them.
See, I don't know, but at the same time, how many tires does Hoosier make out there?
Yeah.
And you're not hearing, Hoosier tires survived a race. You're hearing a handful of them. Yeah. And could it be that we've always had this issue, but nobody's gotten one of these tires that are delaminating and actually ran them hard enough to delaminate it?
I don't think so. I think it's a new issue, but I would like to know, are the late models, do they suffer from the same issue? Because you got to believe that Hoosier's not out there to produce a piece of crap tire. It's really hard to get nylon and rubber products right now. That's why there's a tire shortage on top of skilled workers and so forth. But it's hard to get rubber and nylon. And so are they sacrificing something in the making of the tires that's causing this or what? I don't know what's going on, but it's a big problem in sprint car racing, and it's costing a lot of people a lot of good finishes.
Well, it's amazing how the tire just looks doesn't even look like a tire anymore at the end of a race.
It looks like
I never remember it being that bad at the end of a night for most of the drivers that are out there. I mean, you can't tell me they're just running that much harder on it. I mean, it should be the same.
It's just delaminating. In the past, when you'd get a bald tire, they just wore the treads off because it was a dry track.
Now you're getting the tread separation from the core of the tire. So. Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I found it interesting,
and if anybody out there knows whether the late models are suffering from the same issue, drop us a line.
I don't know. You're a resident late model guy here, Brad.
So. Last night was my second late model race of the year,
and he's already
both
done.
had sprint cars,
and he's already done with late models. Another thing I wanted to bring up, I heard it on, I think it was a Passing Points podcast. So I was catching up on some of their old shows, and what makes a national series? You see, that the Taylor Reimer and Jade Avedizian have become the first female drivers to win a national midget race, but they've done it with the
lower series.
Well, not the lower series, but they did it with the Extreme Outlaw Midget Series that races 8 freaking races all in kind of not national. They don't go from Florida to California. It's kind of a regional deal. But what makes a national series?
Well, apparently that does. So
It's got to be the competition you have in it.
Well, you can have Knoxville there. There you go. Knoxville has great competition. Is that a national thing?
Yeah, I don't know who decides classification of a national series. I mean, we talked before we got on air. Are the All-Stars a national series when they are just regional? They're, I shouldn't say just regional. They cover a lot of territory,
but they don't go west of Missouri.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Missouri. Now, last year they ran in South Dakota and Oklahoma, but that's because of COVID. Or was it 2 years ago? Anyway,
it's all
a national series to me means you got to have a large number of events and you got to travel and cover a lot of territory.
But then the Power Eye National Midget Series, they don't go west either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard deal. I mean, if you really think about it, there's only 3 national series out here. If you want to go coast to coast, you got the Outlaws, you got USAC Midgets, and USAC Sprints.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're saying that if one of those two would have won a USAC race or a Power Eye race,
well, USAC national midget race, that's a national series.
That would be a national series.
I'm not taking anything away from them. I just the Outlaw Extreme thing is not, to me, it's not a national series.
It's too early, and it just started this year, right?
It's just in its infancy.
Yeah, I mean, you run 8 races. You're kind of all in the same area of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to know how that's classified as a national series. But
I mean, you can look at it as the ASCS is not a national series anymore because they don't go out west.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, let's face it, the ASCS is a national sprint car series. Outlaws is a national sprint car series. All-Stars, I say, is a national series, but where do you draw that line?
I think the All-Stars cover enough states that I think could easily be considered a national series where 8 races in a few states, that's a regional series.
I mean, I even classify Power Eye as a national series.
Yeah.
I mean, race.
They get the car counts for it enough to, and they get the Keith Coons cars out there.
I mean, I don't care who you get what cars you get. I mean, that does, to me, getting a Keith Coons car or a Tad Hall. No, I'm not. I'm just throwing Tad out there, but a Tad Hallman car, that doesn't make a national series by any means.
So is it more that you don't like the fact that they're them saying that it's a national win?
I don't care if they say they can call it whatever they want, but I want to know what you think makes a national series.
Yeah, they're claiming it that they're the first female to win in a national series. Well,
but
what
to
is
me,
a national series?
That same thing is Maria Cofer's won USAC West races, and they race about the same amount of races. They travel the same amount of distance as this Extreme Outlaw series, but it's not a national series.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who's the lucky person that gets to claim something's a national series.
It's just saying that they won a midget race, really. From what they're
I mean, I don't care if it's a national race or not. I mean, you won a damn race, you won a race.
Props to them. I mean, they've got some talent. They're getting better. They're getting more consistent.
It was just a debate they had on their show, and I was like, hey, it got me thinking, what do we think is a national series?
Well, how is that any different than us at the beginning of this podcast talking about Druki winning? You know, him winning a 410 race. How is that different than them winning a midget race?
It's a big difference. We're not claiming that he won a national.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm trying to say, that it doesn't feel like the same as, I don't know. I guess I don't look at it.
We broke Josh. He's confused. There's smoke rolling out of his head right over here.
It's confusing.
Well,
I don't know. I mean, just because you say national in your title, your series, are you national?
Yeah.
I don't.
That's a good debate topic to sit around a coffee table and figure out what constitutes. It's interesting debate. Are they the first female midget winners? Yep.
No, they're not. I mean, there's been females that won midget races before them.
True,
but it was not the quotation mark national series.
Yeah.
But before the show, we all agreed that we think like Jade Abedisian, she's got a good shot to win like a USAC race easily. She's an
impressive
fast.
Young lady.
All of them could win a USAC race any night there. I mean, they're right there. It's just the luck of the draw and play your cards right, get the car set up right. They got the talent, the skill, and the equipment to do it.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of when it's going to happen.
Yeah, right. And it's going to happen. It's sooner than later. It's going to happen.
All right. Anything else, boys, before we wrap things up?
What was your issue with Dirt Vision again?
Well, I was going to get there. Is there anything we want to cover before we talk about this?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think that covers. Is there anything major coming up this weekend? Nothing big in Nebraska anyway.
Got 305s out of Eagle Raceway, but the biggest race in Nebraska is the Silver Dollar Nationals here at I-80 Speedway.
Yeah, we're watching that on TV right now. The Silver Dollar Nationals. I'm tempted to go out there Saturday, but with it being 102 or 103 and late models and $45 to get in, here's
your winner right now. I'll call it out right here as Tim McCready makes his qualifying lap.
I'll watch it on Flow Racing probably.
We'll probably have out in Knoxville. You'll get some 410s that'll be showing up to get practice in for the Nationals. I mean, they usually
it's getting close to that time of year.
Starts happening about now.
The pits start getting a little bit fuller and fuller every week.
Yeah. So before we wrap things up here, I was scrolling through Dirt Vision the other night and noticed they had this QuickTime little recap segment on their show, and it got me thinking. This podcast, man, it's often imitated, but you can't duplicate this shit, boys.
That's for sure.
What is it? Imitation is the fondest form of flattery.
Yeah, but I mean, who wanted to imitate this?
Apparently 200 people listened to it last week, so hey,
But I just thought it's funny. I know, QuickTime is a generic racing term.
Yeah.
But I just thought it's funny that I turn on Dirt Vision. There's QuickTime. They're trying to take over our.
It is funny, yeah.
Trying to take over our market here, but you know what?
Logo.
Actually, it actually might help us here.
See, we could just say that
some idiot might out there be like looking for Dirt Vision QuickTime and get confused with this show.
that works. That would be confusing.
All right, so I think that's going to do it for this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and share the podcast. Let's try to get these numbers back up. Join us next week, and I think we're going to have Eric Arnold on next week from the Knoxville Raceway.
Sounds like a plan.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Here's Josh. Who's Eric?
Who's Eric?
Hey, and then when you told me his last name, I still didn't know. But then you told me what podcast he was on.
We'll make sure Eric knows that he's not big time yet.
Hey, when are we ever going to have Dan Taylor on?
Who wants to talk to Dan Taylor?
He sounds like a fun guy.
Brad's over here. Brad's over here. Who's Dan?